New videos every day. Life, wisdom.
Americans consume 14 billion hamburgers every year. Obviously, we love our hamburgers here, right? That's almost an inconceivable amount of hamburgers. But what does this mean for our health? And is there a way to eat a healthy hamburger?
I'm going to have to say that there's not really a truly healthy hamburger, no matter how you prepare it. But there are probably grades of better from worse. And we can talk about hamburgers that have conventional ground meat in them, or a lot of people that go vegetarian will have like textured vegetable protein. Those really are perhaps even less healthy than the meat. So it's going to be hard for me to figure out how I'm going to assemble a healthy hamburger, because we're talking about refined grains. We're talking about a little leaf of lettuce and some corn syrup, ketchup. I'm going to have to say no, there's no healthy hamburger. Now, what is the quality of the meat you're using? What's in that ground beef? I would much prefer to consume a nice lean cut of meat if I'm going to consume meat. If I'm not going to consume meat, I would much rather have some real food. So again, what is the quality of the patty? Mm-hmm. Because some are better than others. Does it have the meat extenders and the other additives in it, or is it simply ground beef? But even the very lean kind of ground meat that you get from the butcher has still been mechanically ground down, and there are very likely some additives in it. So there's always that question of what you're actually consuming. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of hamburgers. And since I don't eat them, somebody else must be eating a few more. But I don't think it's a problem once in a while. But in addition to what is the source of the meat, you have to consider the fact that it's not all that healthy to necessarily char, broil, or however the meat is cooked, because you actually are making carcinogens when you make that burger really black. Mm-hmm. So if you like yours well done, there's more problem. Okay. So hopefully the meat isn't tainted. It doesn't have maybe it's grass fed. That would be ideal, but it doesn't have a lot of things in it that you're going to get. But how you prepare it's going to make a difference as well. And if I can get good meat and not overcook it and perhaps eat it without the bun, maybe I'm getting closer to a little bit of health. Mm-hmm. But that's not the way most people consume their hamburgers. So I'm going to have to say no to the healthy hamburger.
And, when we talk about people are consuming 14 billion hamburgers, that's not hamburgers that people are making at home with their grass-fed meat and whole grain buns. Right. Those are more than likely
mass-produced,
14 billion fast food hamburgers. What are some of the other health concerns that people should be aware of when we're talking about fast food, especially hamburgers, for instance?
The problem is that you need to have nutrient-dense foods if you're going to be healthy. Your body requires a whole spectrum of things. There are many valuable phytonutrients, chemicals that we haven't even discovered yet, some that we have. That's way beyond vitamins, minerals, and all that. And you can't really make it up by taking a pill. If I go to most fast food restaurants, even though some are trying, I'm going to end up getting foods that are fairly poor in nutrients but high in calories. Mm-hmm. And the most prevalent problem throughout all chronic disease is the high intake of calories with the lack of nutrients. You pick a disease and you'll find the mechanism of these high flour content foods. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly what you're going to find. It's not just the buns and the bread, but what do most people consume when they go to these restaurants? And it's pretty much either a flour, a potato. It's not truly good food. Even the salads and such that are served are pretty much lettuce and tomato based, which lettuce has some value. I'm not going to say it's without value at all, but not a lot. Right. And the tomatoes, the way they're grown, are not that valuable either. What about the other nutrients that we need? Because you're going to put the body in a position where it needs nutrients. First, it's going to go to breaking your tissues down to find them, and then it's actually going to start shutting things down in your body when it can't find the nutrients to run. So I see that as the biggest problem, is that I need a functional, healthy body to have wellness.
Mm-hmm. And we have talked in several videos about this idea of empty calories, mm-hmm. calories that are full calories when it comes to they're going to turn into fat. They're going straight to your thighs. but empty calories when we're talking about, well, what's the nutrition contained in this food? How many nutrients am I going to get? How much fiber am I going to get? So it sounds like when we're talking about a fast food restaurant hamburger, for instance, there's really no way to eat a healthy fast food hamburger because there's all of these different food chemicals. There's all of these fillers that are put in the bun. There's the high fructose corn syrup in the ketchup and in the soda. And, you know, most of those 14 billion hamburgers are likely also consumed with fries and a Coke.
Right.
So again, we have more of these refined carbs, more of these empty calories. In terms of giving people a guideline of a healthy way to compose a meal, maybe based on a hamburger, so to speak, just so it kind of ties in, what would be the guidelines, or what are your guidelines, for instance, when you're preparing a meal and looking at, well, how am I going to get the calories I need with the nutrition that I need as well?
That's a good question. I get asked that all the time, and I'm not trying to take people's hamburgers away. I mean, there are special occasions, and there are a number of studies which laughingly actually make the remark that, well, if I do some good, I can make up for the bad. So we can accept that. And so I'm not saying that you have to completely get rid of your hamburger, but you should make an attempt to have some healthy meals as well. And we live in a society where we can readily get vegetables, and there's no better package than vegetables. I don't know who developed them, but right off the farm, they have everything we need. Phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, everything that will help our body run properly, which is what health is all about. So you have to incorporate some vegetables in the meal. And you also want to have a good source of protein. So how good is the source that you're eating, and how much tainting and alteration has been done to it? And then you want to have some good fats too. And a real problem is that we tend to get too much of the saturated altered fats and not enough of the unsaturated and also unaltered types of fats, because you need some saturated, but you don't want them in the trans fat form. You don't want them altered because they alter us. And we've got such a overemphasis on cholesterol these days that people are so worried about consuming some of these foods, but you need good fats. And it's not that cholesterol is bad, it's when the fats are altered, even your own cholesterol. And the way that you alter your cholesterol is when you consume a food like a hamburger with a lot of sugar, because it is sugar and free radicals and other things that damage cholesterol in your tissues. So we have to stop creating a situation where we're doing damage to ourselves and actually give ourselves the benefit of the nutrients that we need.
And we've actually kind of touched on a lot of these topics in other videos. We talked about factory farming, and finding a good quality source of protein. We've also talked in previous videos about what happens when we combine these refined carbohydrates with lots of other things in our diet, and how that affects our ability to lose weight, our ability to be healthy. What is maybe a take-home message, I guess you could say? Obviously, you've said, not trying to demonize the hamburger, that you can never have this, but we really want to, maybe if we're consuming a huge amount of hamburgers, rein it in a little bit.
Right.
What's maybe a closing message that you would give people to empower them to eat healthier, and to know that it is possible for them to eat healthy meals, create these healthy meals themselves, that they can actually overcome, the fact that a lot of these fast foods are really addictive. And so people kind of can get in this snowball effect of eating these foods, eating them a lot, craving these foods. What would maybe be a tip that you could give someone to help pull them out of that snowball?
I think the biggest thing is to do a little bit of planning, and with some forethought. Try to be a bit proactive. Try to get some of those good meals in between, perhaps the convenient meals. I do find there are actual addictive properties to these foods, but in most cases, I find that it's a matter of convenience. People haven't planned ahead, not putting any blame on anybody, but they've got other things, other priorities, and they haven't really thought about the nutrients that they need to get in the day. So they tend to do something for convenience, like go through a drive-through. And that's not, as we've mentioned, always bad, but try to get in some meals that are going to give you benefit.
Right.
How are you going to balance that out? How do you reduce the calories and increase the nutrients? And again, the greatest package out there is a vegetable. So eat a few. And and so, the current recommendation is 5 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables each day, and most people get 0. So add one, step up to that 1 or 2 addition. And really, you want to be getting primarily vegetables, probably about a 3-to-1 ratio from vegetables to fruits because they have that much more value. Start inserting that in. Maybe with your hamburger, you have a little broccoli or that makes a step in the right direction anyway.
Mm-hmm. So I love that. Vegetables, eat them.
Eat some real food. Yeah.
And recognizing that we can, kind of minimize or at least alleviate a little bit of the damage that we do when we are in a rush and we have to grab something fast and we do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We can kind of alleviate those negative effects by just eating more vegetables. And those times when we do have time to think out a meal, or that we do give it a little bit of forethought and we're not in a huge hurry, that we actually spend that little bit of time to not just go with the convenient fast food.
There's absolutely a payoff. There are even many studies now showing that if you simply sit down and in a sense, enjoy the meal a little bit, maybe some social interaction, that there's some real mental and physical benefits from that. So once in a while, maybe there should be a family meal,
right?
And not just a trip through the drive-thru,
right? And that's something that I've talked about in videos before, because there is research that has shown that when you are eating while you're stressed out and you're eating while you're rushing around and you're going through a drive-thru, that you aren't going to stay full and satiated as long, that your digestion is not as thorough, and your digestive system just doesn't work as well when you're stressed out and eating that way. So that is a recommendation that we've made before on this channel, to just sit down, have a relaxing meal, have a meal where you're actually paying attention to what you're eating rather than you're eating while you're totally focused on something else.
Maybe taste it.
taste what you're eating. And maybe if people actually sat down and tasted that fast food hamburger, maybe they would recognize that, because at least for me, I became very aware of the taste of lots and lots of chemicals and lots of processing, and how different that is from when we eat a vegetable, or when you eat a tomato that comes from the farmer's market, for instance, has just way more flavor and satisfaction than any kind of, high fructose corn syrup crazy concoction that we get out of a drive-through window. So I think that is a good guideline, and it's something we can do, something simple like just taking the time out and having a meal, relaxing during that meal, getting out of this loop of convenience eating, fast food eating.
Absolutely. And just an interesting observation that I've seen over many years, we utilize very frequently a cleanse when we're treating different things in our clinic. And what I'll start somebody off with is a simple elimination diet. And most of what I'm eliminating are all the processed foods. But the interesting point is that after 2 to 4 weeks of being on this elimination diet, they're eating real food only. We're not fasting, they're actually eating and maybe taking some other nutrients in. People will often say, okay, now that I'm done with the cleanse, I'm going to go have that hamburger, I'm going to go eat it. And invariably they get sick and they find that it really doesn't taste that good because they've been away from it for a bit. So it's almost like the body knows, and if you're just paying attention, you'll get notified.
Right. Yeah, and because the fast foods and these processed foods do intentionally contain addictive chemicals that are put in the food so that they're more addictive and habit forming, your tastes can kind of escape from that once you step away from it a little bit. The same thing I think goes for high fructose corn syrup. Now that I have been avoiding it significantly, it's at the point where if I do have a sip of something sweet or something, it doesn't even taste good to me anymore. Yeah. It's very, so our tastes can change, our cravings can change. And I think you're right. Ultimately, our body knows what's going to be good for us. And if we just listen to our body, as we've said on this channel many times, that it'll guide us, hopefully, to the path of health.
Very true.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us today. Leave me a comment and let me know how much you love hamburgers and if you found this video interesting. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and visit us at thetruthtalks.net. I'm Psychetruth correspondent Corrina Rachel. Thank you so much for watching.